All right, guys, practical 2. It's your final practical. Let's end the year strong. All right, I'm gonna go through the study guide that is posted on Blackboard, just like I did in class. All right, so if you were in class, you'll already have heard most of this, but I'm gonna go through it again on video so you can rewatch it. This will tell you what you need to study in a little bit more depth than what is on here, and then it'll also give you an idea of what to expect when you come in. Okay, so starting with skin folds, everybody will start their practical with the skin fold section. Whether you are with me or you are with Kennedy, you will be doing this section first. You just will be in a different location. So if you are with me, this will be over by the bench press, right, where we did the YMCA bench. And if you are with Kennedy, this will be at the trainer's table at the front by the whiteboard. But this is in the strength lab. All right. You don't need to worry about that, where to go. I mean, we will tell you, but just so you have a visual and you can kind of start to piece some things together. So when you come in, you'll go with either me or Kennedy in the strength lab, and again, either the bench press or the table. When you get there, there will be 9 note cards, all face down, and you will draw 3, and then your partner will draw 3. Okay? Those will be your 3 sites. So on here, it says you will randomly choose 3 sites. You won't know what you are picking, but you are technically the one choosing the site. So you might grab this one, and then the one behind it, and it ends up being the bicep, the thigh fold, and the calf fold. Then that's what you get, okay? Now, if you get the bicep fold, we know that we have to do the tricep fold first. So we may have to work around that. If the other person has tricep, right, we'll figure out how we do that, but this usually doesn't become a problem. So you'll pick your 3 sites, and then those will be the ones that you do. When you do them, you are going to mark the site. You're going to describe exactly how you marked it using anatomical terms, bony landmarks, anything that we described in the lab. All right, so you'll use your anatomical landmarks. You're going to describe where you are marking it, how you found it, and then you're going to mark it with the expo, just like in lab. All right. One of your points for each site is on the marking, the placement. The next point is your technique, so how you actually take the fold, so how you are pinching it, right? Our pinching hand is always our left, elbow up, and our calipers are always in the right hand. Okay, always in the right hand, so it's elbow up, pinch, pull, caliper on. You get your reading, open the caliper, remove it, then let go of the pinch. Okay, make sure you've got those all down. That is your technique point. Okay, and then you have a accuracy point. So your accuracy point needs to be within 2 millimeters of whoever you are with, me or Kennedy. And we are going to go off of the mark that you made. All right, assuming that it is in the correct position and we don't have to remark it, then we will go off the one that you made. The way you do this, you can either go through every site, mark them, take your readings, and then we will come through, or you can go one site at a time. That is really your decision. All right. When you are doing this, whether you go through one at a time or you go through all of them, you can take as many tries as you need to get a confident score or confident reading. So if you take one site, you're not super confident in it, you'd like to do it again, you can, okay? Likely we'll go through the full rotation before you do it again because we allow that skin time to relax. All right, but certain circumstances come up with time and whatever else. So you can take as many tries as you need within reason on each skin fold site. Once you get a confident answer, then you will tell us, I write it down, I'll go in and take it, and you need to be within 2 of what I get, okay? You'll also be asked a question as far as the skin folds. Maybe it's why we take them all on the right side of the body. Maybe it's how we improve consistency, some pre to post testing. Maybe it's why we don't pinch the same site every time. It can be something like that, but there will be a question asked as well. So that section totals to 10 points, as the other 2 do as well. All right, so 10 points for that section. here's the thing. If you have the placement down and your technique is good and you can answer that question, even if you completely fail on the accuracy, it's okay. You still can get a 7 out of 10 on that section. All right, so it's not the end of the world. We hope that doesn't happen, but worst case scenario, you can still recover 7 points just from having studied the sites and then the technique. All right, moving on. So after you do that, if you are with me and you are over by the benches, we will go to the machines next. If you are with Kennedy, you will go to the flexibility next. The reason being, Kennedy is already at the table. We only have one table, and that's what is used for the flexibility section. So if we both went to the flexibility next, one of us is going to run into each other. So that's why. All right, so I will speak on this as if you're with Kennedy because that is top to bottom on the paper. So assuming you're with Kennedy and the next thing is flexibility. Know what each test is assessing. Like it says here, so not only do you need to know each test that is in your lab, but you need to know what they are assessing. Some tests that would be very valuable to know and would be very helpful to have studied are the shoulder flexion and extension, the active knee extension, the Thomas test, and the passive straight leg raise. We can ask you anything that is on that lab, okay, that you have learned. We will not be doing PNF. We can ask you anything else. But the ones that I just said are very important to know, okay? Like I said, know what each test is assessing. So know what muscles you are actually looking at when doing the test. For a passive straight leg raise, that's fairly obvious, in my opinion, because we are raising the leg up, we're stretching the hamstring, we're looking at the hamstring. Sometimes that's even called a straight leg hamstring flexibility test. It's in the name almost, right? If you think about it like that, we're assessing the hamstring, but it's not so obvious for every test. For the active knee extension, where the person is on their back with their knee up at 90 degrees, extending the leg towards the ceiling, it's not the quads. Even though the quads are the active working muscle, that's what's raising the leg. The limiting muscle would be on the back side, on the hamstrings, right? So that's an example. Another one is shoulder flexion. If you get shoulder flexion, the muscles that limit shoulder flexion would be what a flexibility test is assessing. So if I flex my shoulder, I'm not limited by my front delt. That is the working muscle, but that's not my limiting factor. The limiting factor that I want you to think about for shoulder flexion is the lat, right? If my lat is tight, I can't get it very high. But if my lat has good flexibility, I'm able to get more shoulder flexion. Therefore, when I'm doing a shoulder flexion assessment, I'm testing the lats. Okay, got it? So keep that in mind. Make sure you know that for each of them. Like on the Thomas test, it says on here, tight hip flexors. That's what we're looking at. No dynamic and static stretches for muscle groups or relating to a sport, action, movement, and then know the difference between dynamic and static, passive and active. So what this is really going to be when you do your flexibility test, I'll probably ask you, all right, was that an active stretch? Was that a passive stretch? Active, they did it themselves. Passive, we helped them, all right? And then dynamic or static. So know what those are, right? Dynamic, they're moving around. It's an active movement versus static is just placed, just holding one place, sticking in that spot, okay? And then know a way to stretch each muscle. So I might ask, can you give me a dynamic way to stretch the hamstrings? It doesn't need to be something from lab, but anything that you can think of, okay? Just think through that. Think dynamic movements, what would stretch the hamstring, and you can come up with that. Alternatively, maybe I ask for a static stretch of the pec major or just the chest, okay? That's another thing I could ask. So be able to understand active versus passive and dynamic versus static and know those tests. know where the goniometer goes, as including the fulcrum, the movement arm, and the stabilization arm. Know how they move, know where to place your hands, okay? Know those tests inside and out. And then finally, the exercise section. So this section is all the machines. Like I said earlier, if you are with me, this is section 2. If you are with Kennedy, this is your last section. All right, so how this will look, you're going to get 3 machines. We'll go one at a time, you and your partner. So I would say, okay, so-and-so, go ahead and show me the hack squat machine. Take me there, set it up, explain how to set it up, demo it, meaning show me how to do it, tell me the working muscles, both primary, and then if there is a secondary mover, be sure to include that. And then tell me 1 progression and 1 regression. Okay, so that's going to be the instructions. And I'm just going to pick a machine. You'll do it, whether you get it or not. We'll move on to the other person. They'll get a different machine, and then we'll go back to you. All right, so each person will have 3 different machines that they will do. They'll answer, just like I said, setup, demo, working muscles, and then they will answer a progression and a regression as well. Okay, you have to do that 3 times. I will tell you, yes, it is reasonable to say that a progression is increasing the weight. It's also very reasonable to say that a regression is shortening the range of motion. That's definitely an answer, okay? But if you're going to do that, you can only use those once. And I don't mean you can use both, meaning you can use either one of those one time. So if we're doing a machine and you absolutely cannot think of a progression, you just can't do it. It's just blanking. That's fine. You can say add weight. Okay, that being said, you've now taken off the table the regression option of shortening the range of motion. Okay, does that make sense? I hope so. So you can use either one of those, but you can only do that one time. Okay, it's not that it wouldn't be correct another time, but I want you to think, and I don't want you to just use that for everything. I will also add, in the class, when we went through all the machines, I talked about manual muscle and resistance bands quite a lot, okay, for regressions. I think these are fantastic options and things that are very valuable to learn. If you are going to use those, just understand how to do them. So don't just tell me manual muscle when I ask you a regression. All right, if you can tell me manual muscle overhead press, that's closer. But if you can show me, right, supporting at the shoulder, holding resistance at the hand, and having them move through the range of motion against your hand, awesome. That's really what I want. I don't expect you to be an expert. You haven't been exposed to that most likely, and I understand that. But I just want you to understand why it works the way it does. All right, so if you're gonna do manual muscle, be able to truly explain and really show would be the best. How it works, why it works, what muscles we're working. Okay, and then same thing goes for bands. This one, I mean, you've been exposed to band work before, I imagine. And even if not, I showed a bunch of exercises. Be able to either explain them verbally or just show them. You can always just show them. That's totally fine. Okay, for progressions, a lot of things you don't have to show me because they're pretty easy to explain, mostly the progressions. But if there's an exercise that you say or an option that you bring up that I am either not familiar with or I don't quite agree, then I'll ask you to show it and explain it. All right, so be able to do that no matter what you say. Meaning if I am talking about a certain movement and then you give me an option as a progression or regression, and I think, okay, that is the same muscle groups, I can understand what they're thinking, but is that really more difficult / less difficult than the machine or what we're already doing, right? Because the nature of a progression is making the movement harder, progressing it. And then vice versa, the nature of regressing a movement is making it easier or more doable, more manageable. Okay, so it can't just be another exercise that satisfies the same muscle groups or movement pattern. It does need to fit that criteria of making it either harder or easier. All right, so just to recap real quick, skin folds, You got 3 sites. You'll get to pick them. You're going to mark it. You're going to have technique point and then accuracy point within 2 millimeters. All right. For the flexibility, you're going to perform flexibility tests that we choose. All right. So be able to know those tests. I will say again, things that would be very valuable to know. The passive straight leg raise, okay, test. Know the Thomas test. Know the active knee extension test. Know the shoulder flexion and extension test. These are all very valuable, okay, things that may be asked, okay? Know what those assess. I want you to know passive versus active, dynamic versus static, be able to think through those, be able to know other stretches that even weren't in the lab report that you could just come up with as different alternatives to stretch certain muscles. And then the machines. You'll be given the machine. You need to know how to set it up, which you'll explain, how to demo it, which you will show, the active working muscles, primary and secondary, tell me which is which, if applicable, and then a progression and regression for that machine, okay? You'll have 3 of those, and then that's it. That's the practical. So that pretty much breaks down exactly what to expect, when to expect it, where you're gonna see it. Hopefully this helps. If you have any questions, please ask me soon. I know this didn't get uploaded until later in the week because I was having issues, but there's still plenty of time, so ask me if you need any help. Come to Open Labs and ask for help there. If none of that works, email me, email Kennedy, we'll work something out, all right? You guys are smart. Thank you for the great semester. I know you'll do well. Come prepared, and this should be easy, right? This should be cake. We'll just knock it out one test at a time. All right, good luck, y'all.